Welcome, everyone. This is Reverend Chris. I'm back again. It was Monday, May 4th, with our Angels at 40,000 Foot reading messages for this week. What's coming through from the divine realms, the upper realms, talking to us about what we can expect to see this week. And remember, I'm not going to be talking in a lot of detail about ground level stuff. I'm talking about everything that is driving what we're seeing at ground level, and the things in general that we can expect are going to be in our purview, that we're going to be able to see them in our vision. I'm not recapping the news or giving you some interpretation of the news. I just need to say that for anybody who's new to listening to these 40,000 foot readings, because this is from the angelic and divine perspective. We're looking at what's going on, and they're giving messages to you about how you can expect what is happening up here to be playing out in general down here. Specifics are different from for every corner of the globe, because this is a global reading. It is not specific to the US. This is global. All right, so having said this, once again, I started by asking my team, what is the overriding energy of the week this week? And so what comes up? The sun. This is all about, now if you look, this is actually the deck, and while for those of you who are familiar with it, but once again, I'm called to use the energy deck by Sandra Taylor. And so what this card, if you look in the book, it's about, new beginnings and blessings and all of that kind of stuff. And to an extent, this is about blessings, but what this is talking about is the light is shining, clear and strong. Sunshine, divine light is shining on everything this week. And you can expect that when this light shines on everything, let me get back to my notes, because I always do make notes, is that as this light shines stronger and stronger, this is bringing in revelations about a number of different things that we're going to see, because the light is getting shown in every corner. And when we go through the messages, you will see how this is playing out throughout the week in different aspects of this global awakening and the global period that we're in now with this virus lockdown. So this is the energy of the week that's in play. This is the light is shining on everything. Boy, there is sunshine, divine light just blasting on everything. And remember, this divine light doesn't just expose the darkness, it also raises us up to another place, and that's going to be reflected in this reading. So that's the energy for the week. Now, the second card begins the messages, and the first message that the angels have for you for this week is, whoops, wrong one. We don't want to do that one yet. Oh, excuse me. No. Michael, remove this, please. The first card for this week's reading, the messages here, is, I'm trying to get you where you can see it without the reflection. the Archangel Uriel, 7th chakra, Archangel Uriel. So what does this refer to? Okay, 7th chakra, the crown chakra. The crown chakra is all about inspiration and opening, right? The Great Awakening, connecting to divine source, receiving divine guidance. And in this case, because this is a global reading, this is not referring to you personally, although it is, but it is referring to globally humanities, right? We're talking the entirety of humanities. Crown chakra is being opened. Remember? The light is shining. Crown chakra is being opened. And so what does that do for us? It's being activated and opened, which brings us into more information, realizations, inspiration, and more than that, it creates this higher perspective. We can see from a higher perspective because the light is shining. It's raising us up, and we're going to be able to see now. And this is, and just, right, we get in here, and the crown chakra, this is where we get our 40,000 foot perspective. Aha, 40,000 foot reading, right? This is what's going to start coming. Humanity is rising up to they're wising up to what's going on down here and starting to see things from a higher place where they can see the machinations, everything that's, start to see the things that are going on, that what is happening down here is trying to hide or trying to use or using to control, right? We're going to be breaking away from that control matrix even more strongly as the crown chakra opens up and is more activated. This is us accessing also through our crown chakra, is accessing our divine power. Getting into that place where we say, letting go of that control matrix, separating ourselves from it, and coming out. Embracing our divine power, our divine right, our freedom, our rights as human beings. Not just in this country, but globally. Right? Remember, this is happening globally. So all of this is coming into play this week. If you're not seeing it already, you're going to start seeing it big time as people come into their power and they start expressing their power, which brings us to the second message. So what is the second message this week? Hostilities. Now, you might not be pleased when you see the word hostilities there, but in this case, this is an expression of us coming into our divine power. This is saying that we have rights, that we're sick of being controlled. We've had enough. That this, we're talking here, right? We have so many across the globe. This is happening in countries across the world. You'll see this. The uprisings that are currently taking place have already taken place, responding to these draconian and tyrannical officials' edicts about locking down for this virus, this fear/control garbage. I'm not saying the virus isn't real, it is, but when you look at the real statistics, not the fear-mongering crap that came from Bill Gates and his models, all right, and a lot of what's coming from the CDC, because that's all mixed up together with the flu, flu, pneumonia, and the virus are all being put in one bucket. So when you look at the true figures, this is nothing that we should have been locked down for. The only thing that the lockdown has enabled us to do is to spend more energy actually finding effective treatments for this virus, opening the door to that. So instead of being running around like chickens with our heads cut off as people were getting sick and not knowing what to do, we were able to create treatment methods and paths that are extremely effective in counteracting this virus and its symptoms. But that's what these hostilities are about. This is about global tyranny. This is about all these petty tyrants in government offices, from mayors to governors, and and officials in different departments that are spreading fear mongering, saying, oh no, you got to be locked. Oregon in the United States, the governor in Oregon has declared that their lockdown will continue until July 6th. The chances of that happening are 0 to none. Not going to happen. People already rising up in Oregon against that one. They're already up there. So that's what this is about. We're coming into our divine power, and we're standing up for our rights and ourselves and our freedom as human beings. And it's not from a place of anger and you're not going to do this to me, although some are there, but it's more from that place of no, enough is enough. This is not right, and I will not tolerate this any longer. Not going to happen, right? We have rights and we have privileges, and our going back to work, our opening our doors, our communicating with people around us is not going to put us in any more danger than we are already in with other communicable diseases that are out there that we face every day. And I know there are those who are still in fear mode who are going to disagree with me. But the data supports what I'm saying. And the data and the awakening, right? Shining the light on all of this data and all of the reports. And is just, people are saying, no, we've had enough. So you're going to see some I'm getting the message that there are going to be some pretty significant clashes around this, to be looking for this week in different places around the world. And recognize that while this is unpleasant, it is certainly not the reality and method of solving this issue that a more enlightened society might have chosen. But this is the path now that is left to those who would say no to the fear-based control matrix and governmental tyranny and overreach. And it's important for people to get to this place where they are feeling this, understanding where it is coming from, who is responsible for continuing to suppress the population in their towns and states and counties and countries, for people being able to see the true colors of some of these people and their philosophies, and to hear them actually say the reasons that they're doing these things, and to look at them critically and decide for themselves, do I agree with this or don't I agree with this? If I don't agree with this, if I think you're absolutely batshit crazy, you're on a power trip, right? It's important for people to see this, to be looking at this now. This stuff isn't being swept, under the rug. This virus, as I said in my original coronavirus video, this is the purpose. The divine purpose that's being served by this is the exposure of all of this stuff. For people to be able to start seeing in an environment that is outside of the groupthink influence, that kind of tends to dull you down and make you go along with things just because everybody else is going along with things, But now when you are more centered in yourself, you're relying first and foremost on your own interpretation of what's going on and looking and, spending time on the internet, finding stuff out, because you're not in a room, like say in an office with all of these other people, who, even though they may not be verbally expressing this, all have this same mental construct that they operate within. And now everybody's outside of that construct. And that was part of what had to happen. People had to start seeing, and now they're ready to say enough. Some of them are going, some of these events are going to be unpleasant, and there are going to be unpleasantness happen, and there are people that are going to get hurt, which will again only point up and out the things that are wrong with this whole situation, and the things that are in place simply to control us through various methods and means without reason. So that's the second message. Anything else on that, peeps? All right, good. Hostilities coming in. All right, so the third message, and this was a short week this week, so there are only 3 messages following on to the light, and these are all the things, right, that are being caused by this massive influx of divine light and love, right, that are coming in. So you have the opening of the crown chakra, the awakening, connecting to divine power, the use of that divine power and higher perspective, and seeing, the truth. And then, so the last message that was given here today, this is the world. And what this card is talking about has to do with expansion, opening, right? What has this coronavirus pandemic caused globally, right? It has caused a massive contraction. People contracted into their homes, businesses closing, economies contracting, massive contraction. But what this is showing us is this week we can begin to start seeing that this opening is going to be occurring. Now we have a couple of states here in this country who have begun opening back up for business. That is going to continue. And, there are, on the other hand, a couple of states who have just doubled down on the fear-mongering stuff, but I don't see that lasting very long either. I kind of see the Department of Justice here in the U.S. getting after some of these people that are just unnecessarily limiting people's freedoms, because we have a constitution here in the United States that guarantees us certain civil liberties, and those cannot be suspended no matter what. Just because there's an emergency going on, we have a lockdown, those cannot be suspended. Period, end of story. So I suspect that there are some governors who are going to get letters from the Attorney General saying, you might want to rethink your stance on this in terms of constitutional guaranteed liberties. So I don't see that this Oregonian July 6th thing is going to happen. That's going to be reversed. We have some of our governmental officials who are actually listening to the people that are coming up and saying, enough with this. We've got to get back to work. You know, because there are some systems that were put in place to help people with unemployment and everything else, and with keeping their businesses and keeping their employees, that haven't functioned the way they needed to function. That programming and everything that needed to happen just didn't happen correctly, and there's just a lot of confusion about it. Will people eventually get what they are owed? Yes, but right now they are struggling hard time, and there are businesses that are literally having to close their doors, say goodbye forever, and we don't want that to happen. So I think that there's going to be a globally massive turn around the corner for things to just start opening up again. And I really see, and I've said this before, that once this does happen, it is going to be like, you know, it might start with like squeaking the door open a little bit, but it is just going to, as soon as the rush, the flow is just going to be kaboom, massive expansion and restoration of, you know, global economies and jobs and everything else, because people want to get back to work. They want to get back to life and all of the things that are of life, and deal with, you know, the fallout of the last 6 or 8 weeks without any additional fallout. We want to be up and running again. And our economy has the ability to do that, right? We shut it down, but we can turn it back on. But we have to do it soon, because there are a lot of things hanging in the balance that if we don't do it soon, it's going to be too late. And we're really going to suffer from the consequences down the road. So we've got to get things going. That's the message today. That's the message. These are our cards, all having to do with the light shining. People are saying, I'm connecting to my divine power. It's coming in here, and I'm going to demand that my freedoms are restored and honored. So there's a lot going on this week, and just be watching the energies of this all week long. This is between now and next Sunday, Mother's Day. Okay, so get to the archetypes now. The archetypes from last week, we had the light attributes of the orphan child, people learning how to survive and getting really good at it, right? That energy of, you know, this too will pass, and I can do this. I can do this. I have the skills to do this. So being independent, learning to think more for themselves instead of expecting somebody else, something else, whatever, to take care of us. So that whole orphan child independence thing has been a really strong energy this week, and has been leading to these demonstrations and protests that are coming up, right? So we've got the orphan child in play, independence. I can do this. I can survive. You know, let's go. And so then we had the engineer, remember? And this was in the negative shadow aspect. And this is the engineer that is just, you know, works on data alone with no humanity, emotion, or consideration, empathy, nothing, that just sits there and looks at facts and figures. And the only emotion that may be present is erring on the side of caution, right? So it was the engineer mentality that caused the world to be shut down. And it's the engineer mentality causing the governor of Oregon to extend the shutdown. It's the governor of Michigan to tell people that they can't buy seeds to grow their gardens, and other ridiculous things that she has put in place. You know, the engineer mentality is all about structure and facts and figures and just so this is the way it has to be, without regard to consequences to those that they're supposed to be serving. And in the end, the engineer in the shadow is all about us serving them, right? Being part of what they accomplish instead of their work being to help to be part of what we accomplish and are able to accomplish. So that was this past week. So we've seen both of those energies playing out, the engineer versus the child. We've got the, you know, the controlling, right? Mechanistic, unfeeling, mathematically based decisions based on process, math, physics, you know what an engineer, process, structure. Based on that, coming up against, or in contrast to, independence, free will, survival, I can do it, self-empowerment, right? All of that. That's been the last week. Now, for this week, we have first in the light attribute, the artist archetype. And so the artist is all about thinking outside the box, taking people outside and above the five senses that we're normally operating in, and teaching us ways and showing us ways to get above and think about things in different ways. Doesn't that sound familiar? Crown chakra, new ideas, right? Seeing things in different perspectives. This is the artist, right? And it is the taking us up the 40,000 foot perspective, being able to see things differently and to create our world from a different space of that perspective. But that's the positive light attribute and archetype that is in play this week. And then the shadow attribute that's in place this week is the visionary. Only this visionary, normally we think of visionary has to be a light-filled positive thing, visionary, right? But this is about the visionary who kind of sells his visions, his view, sells them to the highest bidder. I'm going to tell you what I see and how to do with it, but what are you going to do for me? And the other thing that goes on here is twisting forming the vision so that it is more acceptable to more people, whether it's truth or not. He's going to twist things so that it is more acceptable and more palatable to more people, and the people that he is looking to sell it to. Right, going to sell this vision to you. So what do we have? Somebody coming up and selling a vision to us. We have all the time. We've got Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx. Every day we have these people getting up, right? And then we have other people alongside, not the government officials, but other people coming up and selling their version of this vision, selling the vision of what's going to happen and how it's going to turn out. Because we're expecting, because we want to play on your sympathies. We want you to buy into what we're selling. Gives us power if that's us, right? Selling you the vision to fit into, to make it more palatable to you. What you were more willing to believe is what they're going to sell you. So that's what's coming up this week. We've got these two. We've got this higher energy, looking at things from a higher perspective, a different viewpoint, different way of looking at things, getting rid of limiting beliefs and getting out of our boxes. And then basically we have the other energy is telling you what they think you want to hear. And doing everything they can to keep you in the box, twisting the message to keep you in the box. So that's our message for this week, peeps. A little shorter than usual, but that's fine, short and sweet. And we'll get her done. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out this week. And I hope you've enjoyed the message. And I want to, I'm getting something in here now. All right, who's this from? Is this an angel message? Higher self. Master. Ego. No. Okay, so this is just basically saying yes to me. Okay. I'm sort of sneaking in here, yes. All right, so people, I hope that you have gotten things from this that will help you move through the week and be more aware of what to look for and look out for, and to help you maybe climb higher, right? Be more willing to climb higher, to get into your power. And, getting into our divine power and owning that place doesn't always mean that we just sit back and say, yes, I'm in my divine power and I am sending love out to everything and the world is love and I don't have to do anything but sit here in my power. Sometimes we have to get up and be active. And there's going to be some of that going on this week. So just send prayers that everybody stays free of harm as much as possible. See everybody being free from harm, but also see everybody being effective in gaining their freedom and expressing their own divine power and having results come from it. So, blessings to all of you. Thank you for being here. I love you all. See you again next week. Have a great week. And a happy Mother's Day, because I won't see you before then. In the US anyway. See ya.